Hi, my name is Alison Hardy and I'm with the University of Texas at Austin. During this spiral video, I'm going to walk you through student-generated word problems based on schemas. Student-generated word problems just means word problems that students come up with and write themselves. When I say based on schemas, I mean that when students sit down to write a word problem, they should be able to verbalize, today I'm writing a difference problem, or this word problem that I just wrote is an equal groups word problem. And so throughout this video, I'm going to show you how you can model for students how to write word problems based on their schemas. So total, difference, change, equal groups, and set or comparison. Student-generated word problems that are based on schemas can support students' conceptual understanding of the schemas, and it helps to make their understanding of the schemas very transparent to you. For example, if you ask your students to each write a difference word problem, and not many of your students are able to generate word problems that would be categorized as difference problems, that's a clue to you as an educator that your students might need additional instruction or scaffolding in terms of writing and solving their own difference problems. And lastly, student-generated word problems are engaging and they foster creativity. When you're first introducing student-generated word problems, I encourage you to introduce them one schema at a time. So for example, you might say, today I'm going to teach you how to write your own total problems. And then for the remainder of that lesson or that activity, you will focus on having your students write total problems. And within this, I encourage you to start with modeling. Students need to see how to write their own word problems from start to finish. And while modeling, you want to make sure that all of your thinking is transparent. You want to engage students throughout this modeling practice by eliciting their own ideas. So for example, you might have students turn and talk about what they think your word problem should be about that day, and then choose one of their ideas. Modeling should be interactive and engaging for students. Once you have modeled writing a word problem from start to finish, you're going to want to follow with some guided practice opportunities. So maybe you will have your students use sentence stems to help guide their word problems. Maybe you will walk them through all of the decisions that they have to make throughout the writing process. Maybe you will provide pre-made graphic organizers to aid them in writing their word problems. And then after those guided practice opportunities, then it's a great time to introduce those independent practice opportunities. Lastly, I want to encourage you to teach your students to use graphic organizers to guide their student-generated word problems. And for the remainder of this video, I'm going to walk you through how to model for your students how to generate their own total, difference, change, equal groups, and set or comparison word problems using the associated graphic organizer. You can follow these 4 steps when you're modeling student-generated word problems for students. The first step is to determine the schema and provide a review. Step 2 is to draw the related graphic organizer. Third, you need to brainstorm the components of the word problem and label the graphic organizer with what you've decided. And you also need to determine what information will be unknown. And lastly, you will use the graphic organizer as a guide for writing the word problem. To model how to write a total problem, you'll first want to give a brief review of what a total problem is. So you might say, remember, total problems are problems where parts are put together into a total. In some total problems, the total is unknown, and in other total problems, one of the parts is unknown. Next, you will want to draw the related graphic organizer. So for a total problem, we have our total graphic organizer. Next, you'll want to brainstorm the components of your word problem. When I have students brainstorm ideas for total problems, I like to have them think of a topic that they want to write their word problem about that can be separated into 2 different categories. So for example, if their topic is ice cream, they can write about vanilla ice cream and chocolate ice cream. If they write about pets, they can talk about dogs and cats. If they write about markers, they can talk about blue markers and orange markers. markers. So you want to have your students brainstorm a topic that can be divided into 2 categories so that those parts can then be put together into the total. So for my word problem, I want it to be about blue markers and orange markers. So I've labeled my parts blue and orange. And at the top there, I'm going to write total markers. And now you'll teach students to decide up front what information they want to be unknown. So in a total problem, it can be a total unknown problem or a part unknown problem. And I want my problem to have unknown blue markers. Okay, so now I can come up with the other numbers in my word problem. Maybe I'll have 4 orange markers and 12 total markers. So now that I've completed my graphic organizer, I'm ready to model writing a word problem that uses it as a guide. So I might start by writing about how many total markers I have, and that might look like And so now I'm ready to write my question sentence. And students should always know that their question sentence will match whatever information they marked with their question mark on the graphic organizer. So my question sentence will ask, and that is how you model for students how to generate their own total problem. So my completed word problem says I have 12 markers, 4 of my markers are orange, and the rest are blue. How many blue markers do I have? Now I'll show you how to model writing a difference problem. So the first thing you'll want to do is provide a brief review of what a difference problem is. A difference problem is when you compare 2 amounts for a difference. And now we're going to draw the related graphic organizer. So I'm going to draw a taller bar and a shorter bar. And then I'm going to mark the difference with that line. So now it's time to brainstorm what we want our word problem to be about. So you're going to encourage students to think about comparing. So for example, we could compare how many students are in your class versus the class next door. We could compare how many more students are in 3rd grade versus 4th grade. We could compare how much taller you are than your little sibling. So once you come up with the components of your story, you're going to start to label your graphic organizer. So I'm going to go with the 3rd grade versus 4th grade concept. And in my school, maybe I have more 4th graders than I do 3rd graders. And my unknown will be the difference. So now I need to come up with how many 4th graders there are and how many 3rd graders there are. I'm going to say I have 42 4th graders and 35 3rd graders. So now that I've completed my graphic organizer, I'm ready to start writing my word problem. So my first sentence might say, and now I'm already ready for my question sentence. And my question sentence is about the difference between the 4th graders and the 3rd graders. So I could either write, how many more 4th graders are there than 3rd graders? Or I can write, how many fewer 3rd graders are there than 4th graders? Or I could write, what is the difference between the number of 4th graders and the number of 3rd graders? So I think my question will say, so my completed difference problem says there are 42 4th graders and 35 3rd graders. How many more 4th graders are there? Now we'll move on to change problems. And in change problems, we have a start amount that increases or decreases to a new amount. So when you're having students brainstorm a topic for a change problem, you're going to want to make sure that they're coming up with some kind of action that's occurring in their story that causes either an increase or a decrease in whatever their word problem is about. So now we're ready to draw our graphic organizer. I'm going to draw a box for the start, and I'm going to draw a box for the end amount, and then we get from the start to the end with some kind of change. So now I have my graphic organizer and I'm ready to brainstorm what I want my word problem to be about. And I want my word problem to be about friendship bracelets, okay? Maybe I'm going to a Taylor Swift concert and I've made 45 friendship bracelets that I'm ready to give away. So I can write up here my topic. Friendship bracelets. And at the beginning of my story, so at the start, I have 45 friendship bracelets. Well, what's the action? Why is my amount of friendship bracelets decreasing? Well, I give some away. And now at the end, I'm going to have less friendship bracelets. So I need to come up with what amount I need to be unknown. And I've already said that I have 45 friendship bracelets to start, so I can either have my end amount unknown or my change amount. And I think I want my change amount to be unknown, so I'm going to put a question mark. I'm not going to tell my readers how many friendship bracelets I gave away, but I am going to tell them that at the end of the concert, I had 3 friendship bracelets left. So now that I have my graphic organizer ready to go, I can start writing my word problem. And now I'm ready for my question sentence. And my question sentence should always match up with what I said was unknown when I labeled my graphic organizer. And so what's unknown is how many I gave away. So my question sentence will be, my change problem in its totality is at the beginning of the concert, I had 45 friendship bracelets. I gave most of them away. At the end of the concert, I had 3 left. How many did I give away? Moving on to equal groups problems. In equal groups problems, we have groups with an equal number in each group, or we have a product shared equally among groups. So now I'll draw the equal groups graphic organizer, which is 2 circles followed by a square. We have our multiplication sign and our equal sign. So now that I've drawn the graphic organizer, I'm ready to brainstorm what I want my word problem to be about. And my word problem is going to be about baking cookies. I'm going to buy some cookie dough from the store, and I know how many cookies can be made with each package. I want to know how many total cookies I am able to make. So my groups will be packages of cookies, and my number in each group will be the cookies per package, and then the product will be how many cookies. So I'm going to say that I am buying 3 packages of cookies, and there are 24 cookies per package, and I want my unknown amount to be the product. So now I'm ready to write my word problem. So my equal groups problem says I bought 3 packages of cookie dough. Each package will make 24 cookies. How many cookies can I make? Last, we have set or comparison problems. And with set or comparison problems, we have a set that is compared a number of times to equal a product. And our graphic organizer for a set or comparison problem has a circle, a triangle, a square, and the multiplication and equal signs. So when I wrote word problems with my former class, I like to take opportunities to tease my colleagues. And one of my former colleagues, her name is Miss Huckabee, and she bought a lot of Starbucks drinks. And it always made my class giggle when I incorporated other teachers' names in my word problem. So I want my word problem to be about how I buy a lot of Starbucks, but Miss Huckabee buys like 3 times as much Starbucks as I do. So how much Starbucks does Miss Huckabee buy? So I'll make my story about last year. Let's say that I bought Starbucks 23 times last year, and Miss Huckabee bought Starbucks 3 times more than I did. So my unknown is how many times did Miss Huckabee buy Starbucks? So my word problem might begin with right. So my set or comparison problem says, last year I went to Starbucks 23 times. Miss Huckabee went 3 times as much as I did. How many times did Miss Huckabee go to Starbucks last year? And that's a wrap. I hope you found this spiral video on student-generated word problems based on schemas helpful, and I look forward to hearing about whether or not you try it out with your students. Have a great year.